Happy Saturday, friends. And it's a long weekend. I don't know about you, but this right here is where I plan to spend the bulk of my weekend. I am going to start it off with a project share and quick tutorial focused on using dies, stitching dies, and how to incorporate that. So today's video is part of the PaperCrafting YouTubers Facebook group. Every month we do a YouTube hop, and for the September YouTube hop, the theme is Golden Days of Fall. I feel like Labor Day is the official end of summer, and already we've had a couple nights where it's dropped into the 50s, and I gotta be honest, fall is hands down my absolute most favorite season. I live in Pennsylvania. One of the beautiful things about this state is we have very defined seasons. So all four are really pronounced and different, but fall is my favorite, but I really love the transition from one into another. And it starts with those first couple cool nights, usually late August, and yeah, we've already experienced it. Although a heat wave's coming next week, which I'm not too thrilled about. But let's jump into what I'm doing here. I've got this hot mess on my desk and just wanted to kind of jump right into what I'm doing. So on here's Temu, I found these stitching dies. So this is two separate sets. This is one set right here, makes this large flower, and then this set is intended to be layered, but can be used individually. And I used both of them on this project. So what this does is it creates this base for you, which then you can, oh, I've got cat here, which then you can come in and stitch with embroidery floss. So here's some small pieces. Let's do the project share first. Let's clean this off a minute and I'll show you what I did. So first up, I made a card. I just love the font on here. My light is crackling. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Not sure if I should be worried about it. Makes me want to say things like groovy. But I love this, and that's also kind of what this embroidery makes me think of. I am sure when I was a kid, my mom or my grandma got me some kind of embroidery kit for kids to learn on, and it's just so reminiscent of that. Or, you know, the string art from the 70s. And I love the texture that it gives on cards. You know I'm a big fan of stitching anyway. Here, I didn't do any machine stitching. It was all hand stitching. So here's this fun fall card. I used mostly the scrapbook.com boho smooth cardstock paper, which coordinates really great with the Maggie Holmes Market Square collection, which just gives me all the fall vibes anyway. Really boho type vibes to that. So layered it up, used one of these acetate butterflies that you see me use, I think, on every project for the last 5 or so. And then just stacked up this embroidered flower. There's a smaller one in the center, larger in the back. There's even a leaf die that you can use the stitching on. And yeah, makes a fun little card. And then the other way I used it was just in some smaller details. I have this fun mug box that I threw some caramels in, and the front is a shaker. Used my favorite sweater weather die, and then some of these smaller flowers, I simply put a little enamel dot in the center. And that's the only embroidery I did. You don't want to overdo it. It's a touch. It's texture. Use some gold bits, a little bit of sparkle on these little Paper Studio flowers, and yeah, beautiful little gift box right there. I just love this die, and I will link these up below so that you can see that. But then what I thought I would do is share how I did this. So here's how the die cuts. You get this little flower with the holes already punched into it. And on the layering background piece, this is nice. It cuts as one large piece, and then I cut it down so that you have a little bit of the hole showing, and that kind of just like fills that background in. Let me show you what I mean here. So here I back them on green. You can see, after you stitch, you still see the hole. And that's nice to have that background. So I cut those out, and then, you know, slightly larger one here. But here's what it looks like when it is stitched. On this one, I used, I believe, 3 pieces of floss, and on this one I use 6. So it gives a slightly different look. You can see it's a little thicker on that one and a little thinner on this one. And then there's the back. I use a dot of glue in the center and lay my strings in. Use the fun, you know, finger thing, press that down so it's really flat. You can kind of see that. And I find that's just easier then when I go to adhere it onto something. So this is where we pull out all of the fun flosses. These are so inexpensive, and I've got a collection. My cat got into this one as I was working on it. But here's some of the colors that I picked to coordinate with my project, and you can see there how that coordinates. And then again, I use the boho smooth cardstock paper from scrapbook.com, and these all kind of coordinate well here. So let me show you how I stitch, and I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do this. I do have Paige Evans' new book that I know gets into this, but I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it yet. That's on my to-do list this weekend. So here I have 2 different options. This is what I do. I separate the floss into sections of 3. I just use a long strip because what I find is when you're going back and forth, what you don't want to do is use a short strand and then you have to keep ending and restarting to get the whole way through a single flower. So I think I'm going to use let's use the bright orange against this kind of peachy toned paper. So I'm always working from the center. I'm going to pull this up. And what I want to do is just keep a tail here. Doesn't need to be long, but long enough so at the end we're going to glue that down. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of pinch it and hold that. And I'm going to start right there. We literally pull it down, and it's going to be really loose. So I, hang on to it. And then we're going to go straight up through that hole. This is literally straight lines, and that's it. Just over and over the whole way around. And I just make sure that I'm holding that so it's a little snug. Release it. And down, up and down, and up and down. This goes super quick. I find this to be really relaxing. And this would be great work to do maybe while you're watching TV or listening to a podcast. Last evening I took maybe 30 minutes and just stitched all these up. And oops. Now you don't want to go through that thread. Look at that. There we go. Want to keep that straight. I don't know if you can hear the sizzling coming from my light. I think what might have happened, it's flickering a little, is a fly got in there. Sometimes there for a while. I had the windows open, we got a couple flies in here. And it's kind of sad, but they don't survive with the heat of that light. So I think one might have, yikes, gotten in there. Oh good, it's quiet now. Okay. Now that center starts to get full. I'm just going to twist it a little so it's easier to work. And by the time we get to the end, it starts to get a little harder to get into there. When I say hard, I mean we need to wiggle it a minute. Now, if you're using all 6 threads on a typical piece of floss, this is going to get thicker for sure. There we go. And see, we are almost done already. So then I just look at the back to make sure I'm getting it at the right place. I'm going to try and keep them straight. You don't want them to twist too much because that's part of the beauty of that smooth lines. So yeah, I could see making a bunch of these all at once. Now here I'm going to show you how I end it. So I've got my scissors. I'm going to snip it, and it's extra long. It's more than I need. And I'm going to take my hot glue gun. I'm going to put just the smallest little dot here in the middle. And I'm going to lay that piece over it, lay that piece over it, and simply press and hold for a second. That's going to ensure a really good seal. My first one I did with a knot, which is pretty traditional, but then you've got all that thickness, and if you want it to lay smooth, like on this card, you don't want that big knot underneath. So there you can see that's really flat now. And then all I'm going to do is snip off that tail. And that's going to adhere great to whatever project I want to do. And there we go. We've got another pretty little flower here. So I have enough left. I think I'm going to do one more note card. I'll do that off camera. And then that is my project today. I hope everybody has a really safe and fun holiday weekend. I've got probably 3 more videos in the queue to be released over the next week. So if you haven't yet, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. I have to give a huge thank you to each and every one of you that watch and subscribe. This week I hit 1,000 followers. So I am several months ahead of my goal, which was to hit 1,000 by the end of 2023. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. You don't know how much I appreciate this. I'm having so much fun here. And I'm also going to link up everybody else that is participating in this YouTube Hop. Again, the theme is Golden Days of Fall. Let's jump right into it. Hop on over to their channels. You'll see a lot of scrapbook pages. You may see some card making and then project shares just like this. Thanks and have a great weekend.